Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. Sometimes Red Sox spring training has been referred to as Camp Tranquility. Well, at Foxborough, it's anything but tranquility this week. I call it Credit Gate, as Coach Bill Belichick, star quarterback, legendary Tom Brady, and owner Bob Kraft fight for who gets the most credit for the Patriots' success. How much credit do you need?
I know, you look at it, they say they're fighting back and forth. I don't believe 95% of that. I could see the situation where Belichick would have liked to have, he would have traded Brady if he had the chance, I believe, after this year. But the one thing people aren't talking about, they offered Garoppolo a 4-year contract at $17 million a year, and he said no. So, I mean, what else could the Patriots do? I mean, Kraft, whose franchise now is worth over $2.5 billion, he bought it for $300 million, and a big reason why it's worth that much money is Brady and Belichick, but that's a huge reason. And Brady's the one player that he will not trade, and I don't blame him there. I mean, they're in a tough situation, but I mean, these people are unbelievable. You know the media; they're just trying to sell papers or have people watch their station, sell it, you know, the commercials and everything else. But I don't believe. Do you believe most of that?
I just really don't know what to think. Obviously, I believe that you should seek understanding of what's going on, not validation of who you are. Kraft's a multi-billionaire. You know, obviously he's eventually going to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as an owner. Both Belichick and Brady have remarkable records throughout their careers, and they work together. Sometimes, you know, it's like Auerbach and Bill Russell. It's not as though one guy deserves all the credit and the other deserves none. You have to work together to make things happen. Who's leaking it out? You would think that it's this anti-Brady sentiment somewhere in the organization that's spilling into the public domain. How that's occurring, we don't know. As you said, is it something to do with the trainers and Alex Guerrero and his alternative health? But we certainly have much more Brady as a promoter of his brand, Time and Tom. You know, what we all know, that Father Time catches up to everyone, and when it happens, it usually happens pretty fast.
Yeah, people are knocking Brady, but he's putting the time in. I mean, no one's put more time in than Brady in regard to football. I mean, he loves it. He's been unbelievable. But here's a situation. You have Guerrero, who Belichick made a mistake by letting him stand on the sidelines. He went on the flights and everything. He should have denied that because they have their own trainers. You know, Guerrero's Brady's man. But it seems to me that Belichick knew that he was working with other players, and that was fine for a while. But I think the trainers, I think they're the ones that are giving all the information to these reporters.
Well, I think that he probably didn't object to Guerrero working with the other players, but when Guerrero tells the players to stop doing this or don't do that, do this instead, then Belichick's got to feel that his authority is undermined.
But yeah, so I mean, you're looking at that, but the two things: Garoppolo being traded for a second-round pick when Belichick knows he could have got more. But he did the same thing with Collins. He traded Collins for a third-round pick, one of the best linebackers in football. That's the way he is. He wanted him to go to San Fran. He knew those people out there, and instead of dealing them to a team like Cleveland, who's in his conference.
Right. He wanted to put him in a good situation for the long term, but also outside the conference for the Patriots.
But, all right, so that's the one thing. They could have got more. All right, they could have probably got 2 seconds this year and next year coming, or maybe a first from a team.
Well, Cleveland was talking about trading their number 4 pick. Apparently they have a first and a 4th, and maybe something else. But
yeah, but they didn't know it was a 4th at the time.
Right.
When they made the deal, it was probably like a 15th. That was Houston's pick.
Yeah, and it's all talk anyway. You never really know what happened.
But Ron, how do you know? In all the years I've watched football, Garoppolo hasn't proved to me that he's going to be a great quarterback. I mean, he hasn't proven that yet. So you don't even know. The quarterback the Pats will get with one of their top 3 picks, you know they're going to draft a quarterback and hopefully 2 good defensive players. That quarterback may be better than you don't know. So the only thing that I'm upset about with this whole situation, is that Belichick could have probably got another second.
Well, I think the eye test was that when Garoppolo came in, that inspired Brady to work harder, be more concentrated in his taking care of his body, because he certainly had started a decline, and then he had this resurgence. And although he had a cordial relationship with Garoppolo, he apparently never really went out of his way to help Garoppolo. What was the quote that people said, I'm not going to be your Bledsoe?
Yeah.
So I think that's on the record. So, which, you know, I don't expect Brady to go out of his way to give Garoppolo the job.
I mean, Garoppolo right now looks like he's a good quarterback right now. But he's 6'2", if he's 6'2". He's not a big guy. He's not a strong guy. You know he's been hurt twice. They were upset last year during the exhibition season when he wouldn't play with a sore left shoulder. I mean, so you're looking at a player like him. He went to San Francisco. He had nothing to lose there in San Fran. Their schedule wasn't strong when they played Jacksonville, but Jacksonville already had it clinched.
Well, there's a certain degree of hypocrisy. Last year when Garoppolo had a partially separated shoulder, people were expecting him to come back in 10 days and play. And Hogan, conversely, had this, a lot of people speculate, had the same injury, and he's missed 7 out of 8 weeks because it's a tough injury to come back with. Okay, you're going to say, well, oh, but he's not a quarterback. Well, that's exactly the point. If you're a quarterback, you've got to throw the ball. So I think there's a certain amount of Felger and Maserati, oh, one guy's a tough guy, one guy is not a tough guy. Nobody really knows as far as the injuries go.
But would you have to look at it again, all right, with this whole situation? The quarterback they may pick, that they're going to pick, may end up being better than Garoppolo was. And if Brady's going to play 2 more years after this year, which I think he is, you get 2 more years, you get a quarterback this year. By the time Brady leaves, that quarterback's ready to play. I know there are a lot of quarterbacks in football that don't make it, but how do you know? You know, maybe they will get a good quarterback who's 6'4", 6'5", who has a good arm, and he may end up being, Garoppolo may get injured a lot.
Do you think Mayfield is too small, the Oklahoma quarterback?
I don't want him. I don't want him. He's a punk. He is a punk. He's worse than the other guy that I liked. What's his name?
Manziel?
Manziel. He's like, gives the choke sign to the field goal kicker when he was kicking the field goal, Georgia field goal kicker, when he missed it.
Well, we should talk a little bit about the national championship game. I know you saw some of the game. A remarkable game where Georgia totally controlled the game in the first half, and Alabama coach Nick Saban made a strategic substitution, putting in Tuivailova, I can't even say his name, the Hawaiian freshman left-handed quarterback who went 14 for 24 for something like 144 yards and a couple of touchdowns, including the game winner.
What's his name, the starting quarterback?
Hurts, Jalen Hurts.
I said this last year, and I said it before I was watching the game with a couple of people, and I said it before the Alabama-Georgia game. I says that a coach like Saban, to pick a kid like Hurts and have him stuck with him for 4 years, he's lucky that. I said he blew the game against Clemson last year. He doesn't put any pressure on a defense with his passing. It's his running. So all they have to do is concentrate on the running game of Alabama and, you know, just have the normal safeties you would have in a game, but stop the running game. So now he's got a quarterback. You watch the next 2 years, he's going to win a championship again.
Yeah, it's
You
going
know, he wasn't going to do it with this guy.
Well, what's always interesting with Saban is he's won 6 national championships, and as soon as he wins, there's talk about him going somewhere else. So even though he just signed a contract, the ink isn't dry, he's going to be looking for more money. His agent has been a guy named Jimmy Sexton, who is always saying, well, you know, there's always Texas. We could go to Texas. They have an infinite amount of money there. So I just can't understand it. Why would Saban want to go to the Giants? That makes no sense at all.
Well, plus one more championship, he matches Bear Bryant in Alabama.
Right. And he'll set the all-time record.
Yeah.
So now, Alabama, there's a book called Saban by a writer called Monty Burke, and it's a remarkable book. It's not authorized by Saban. There's no interviews by Saban, but it gives you a lot of insight from how he grew up. his father owned a service station and a Dairy Queen, and Nick's job in the service station was to wash cars. So if he detailed the car, washed the car, and there's one little spot on it that's not right, the father made him do the whole car over. So his attitude is, you can do it to perfection because I did it to perfection. So he doesn't tolerate mistakes. Plus, there's a lot of insight as they said, he'll pick on a player at practice. So they call it helpings. You can get a helping, or you can get a second helping, or sometimes you can even get a third helping. But he is one perfectionist, tough guy, and he expects a lot from his players. And certainly, he's done a lot for the football team, but he's also raised, or the endowment for the school's gone up $500 million since he's been there. And Alabama is one of the #1 public schools in National Merit Scholars, so he's improved the university academically too. So he's done a lot for the school. Yes, he has a lot of idiosyncrasies. He wakes up at a certain time each day, has a shower, goes downstairs, eats 2 Little Debbie oatmeal snack cakes and a cup of coffee, goes to work. He gets a turkey sandwich at precisely 12 noon. It's like his schedule is unbelievable. But it's a remarkable story in the book. And he's an incredible football coach. In the book, his wife says he's not that good a coach, but he's an amazing recruiter. So if you have the best players, and he gets great players, that certainly helps.
Yeah, they're going to be tough to beat over the next 3 years now. And hopefully, a guy that's smart, hopefully when he gets his next quarterback, which he has quarterbacks now, fourth string, is that he gets a quarterback who can pass and put pressure on the defense.
Well, the touchdown the freshman threw in overtime, he couldn't have walked down there and handed it to the guy better. A 41-yard pass literally right in his hand.
He looked off the safety, too.
It was a tremendous play. Now, as for the Patriots this weekend, they're heavy favorites, 13 points against the Titans. If the Patriots somehow were to lose, there's no doubt that internal discord would be the first factor that would get blamed.
Yeah, I can't see that. I mean, realistically, I'm looking at a 31-13 game. I mean, I don't think you're going to see many turnovers. They got Burkhead and White back, so they're going to be able to split out the backs, be able to do a lot with the backs.
Yeah.
Hogan's back. I think, and a lot of people are knocking the Cook deal, saying that. But, I mean, you look at Cook, right? In the last 3 games, he stepped out of bounds on a 33-yard pass that he caught, came back in bounds, he stepped out, he got nudged out of bounds. Brady overthrew him twice. They would have been touchdowns, 50-yard, at least 50-yard touchdown passes. So I mean, if Brady connects with him on those 2 long passes, and his foot touched the line.
Well, I think that many of the local media thought that Cooks was going to be Randy Moss, and he's a really good receiver. But to be fair, Brady really hasn't been very accurate on the long ball this year.
He was early in the year.
Well, I know, but he's got this Achilles injury, which maybe he does or doesn't have it. They take him off the injury report, whatever that means.
I think they're going to have a great game Saturday. I think the offense is really going to come along. I think people are going to be excited after that game. And I also think that Jacksonville's going to beat Pittsburgh.
Well, it's supposed to be warm in the morning
and then get
cold. So I don't know if the field will freeze or be slippery or if that'll make any difference or not.
No, but I look for them. The defense has been playing pretty good. I don't see Tennessee scoring more than 13 points against the defense. Van Noy's back.
Right.
Harrison had a good game last week. I think they'll put him at the end, defensive end at times, put him at linebacker. He did a good job in doing both situations. And you got Brown back healthy, who's had a great year.
Yeah, getting guys back healthy and getting people who are hurt. Everybody's hurt this time of year, but getting them a couple weeks to get treatment and rested, you think it'd be almost impossible for Tennessee to win. I think they could cover, but
you look at the linebacking core now. I think Flowers has really come on. Not Trey Flowers.
Well, he's really fast, Marquise Flowers.
Marquise Flowers. He's come on. So you have Marquise Flowers, you have Van Noy, and you have Roberts who play. I would play Flowers ahead of Roberts now. I think Flowers has had a real good season. It's gotten better and better.
Well, the thing I worry about most defensively for the Patriots is because they don't have a great pass rush, but they're not really good at covering backs out of the backfield. Roberts is really slow. I mean, he's excellent against the run.
Well, you saw when they did that, when he bit on that early in the year, bit on that play action,
Yep.
and you knew they were passing the ball, and he got burnt. But that's going to be a key. But the one good thing is that Chung has been covering the tight ends, and he's had his best season.
Well, and the good news is that Rob Gronkowski got named first team All-Pro, so he'll get paid. Heaven forbid.
He deserves it, though.
No, he does. Gronkowski, he's kind of a child, but he's excellent football mind. He plays hard, and he's productive when he's healthy. And part of his health problems in the past, I'm not really sure about the management of his broken arm. Now, whether that was partly his own fault as far as taking care of himself, I don't know.
But know what I would like to see going into next season? They have 1 first-round pick, 2 second-round picks. I'd like to see them get the quarterback they like. Quarterback they like. They're not going to get one of the top 2.
No, you're not going to get Darnold or Rosen.
But there's still a lot of quarterbacks that are very good, especially nowadays. If they pick the right one, and then get a really good linebacker. Get a linebacker, one of those Alabama linebackers, Georgia linebackers that can go sideline to sideline. Get one of them, and then maybe another. Rivers will be back next year. I think he's going to have a good year. But get another pass rusher, and that. Those are your 3 picks. That's what they should concentrate on.
Those offensive linemen that they drafted, were they all hurt, or did they just
Well,
not pan
Garcia
out?
got hurt. He was in number 1. He was in number 4. They only started with the 3rd pick. They missed the first 2 rounds. So they got Rivers, and then they got Garcia. Both of them got hurt. What I'm hoping is now Rivers they really liked. He's been working out with them.
Well, right. Chances are he's had it. Now, was it a shoulder or a leg? I think it was a knee.
I think it was his knee, yeah.
All right, so I know that some people thought he was too small, so he could work on his upper body, put on 10 or 15 pounds probably easily.
And Garcia's supposed to be a good tackle. But look at now, they don't need a tackle now. When you really look at it, you have Solder.
Solder's going to be gone.
You have Cannon, who's been out. You have Waddle, who did a great job. That was my prediction when people were saying that Waddle. I said in the exhibition season, Waddle didn't look bad at left tackle. But so now, if say Solder goes, I'm not sure he's going. You have Waddle, you have Cannon. They both showed that, especially Cannon and Waddle. And then no, they're not using enough Karras. I think they should give Karras a chance to play for Tooney.
Yeah,
because Tooney's been the one who's getting beat.
Yeah, some people think Tooney's too small and he's getting overrun.
But the rest of the line is strong.
It's kind of funny when we talk about 300-pound guys and, he's too small.
I know.
Anyway, do you worry about Mariota scrambling, or you think that's where Marquise Flowers will be in there as a spy?
No, I don't worry about him scrambling because they've gone up against a lot of quarterbacks who can run this year. An awful lot of quarterbacks who can run. They went up against Taylor twice. He doesn't run better than Taylor. He throws a little better than Taylor, but he's not that accurate either at times. So you're going to hope at times where he's incomplete at
so you've got the Patriots
31-13.
All right, I'll take the Patriots 30-17. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Tonight, as our guest expert, we have Bill Allen, hockey expert, Melrose Hockey broadcaster, know everything about hockey guy. Well, welcome, Bill.
Great introduction. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Ralph, for having me. Season's here. We're right in the middle of it as we bring this to you here in mid-January, and all the programs are running fairly well.
Now, you doing just the boys, or are you doing the girls too?
A little. I keep an eye on all of them, but as far as my involvement personally, I'm doing some work with Chuck Trider. Those are 8th graders, so a very important level because that's the in-between the youth level and the high school, the preparation, the body checking, and really the X's and O's start to come into play there. So I help out on the weekends where I can with Chuck. As far as the high school, I do some game announcing like you guys do to cover the varsity. So I've been doing that with Video Jam for a while. And following Sean Connerly and what he's doing with the girls. They're doing really, really well. Both Melrose varsity teams competing well after last year was slightly down.
It seems that there's a lot more scoring this year. Does that reflect the talent or a change in style of play or some combination?
Good observation. I was looking at some stats. The varsity's at 38 goals and 9 games in. That's on a pace for 75. That's a good offensive team. So you got the senior level has a good ability to close. They got Shea Champagne and some people with really good hands. Liam Crovo can blast it from the point. So they got people that can close it. The challenge for the Raiders right now, halfway through, is with the 38 goals, they've also given up 38. And, the leaders like Burlington and stuff, 10, 12 so far this year. So they got to work the team defense, something that Vin Mirasolo, the coach, is really stressing. And, watch the penalties and stuff. They've got a good mix, but they're go-getters, and penalties bring special teams on. They get scored a lot. So that number can be kind of inflated if the special teams need to be ramped up a little bit. It's going well.
How's that freshman line doing? I did that Lexington game. I was impressed with them. They're small, but they can play.
Senior and Haggerty and Quinn McCarthy, and even when I was talking about the middle school program, Brendan Fennell, he's playing first line minutes now. He's the last 6-7 games, he's got 5 or 6 goals, and
Wow.
so you see him. The good news, kind of like you were mentioning earlier, just like with the the cycle, if you will, the young kids are coming, and it will bode well as the years go on. Mark Dooling's most of the goaltending, and doing well. A lot of shots. So again, if they can keep the defensive side of the puck at bay, they'll bode well as the season plays out.
And they have a winning record?
They're right now at 5-4 and no ties, 5-4. But some good things. They won the Christmas tournament. They have the 26th and 27th over at Casabooski. They beat Triton and North Reading by handy scores, not close game. 3 or 4 goal victories. And actually, for Vin Mirasolo, I tease him a little bit. He's humble, but he's eclipsed 50 wins. And 6 years as a Melrose coach. That's pretty good.
What can you do in season, strategy-wise, to strengthen the team?
No, I think what they just have to do is continue to work the skating. The teams they play in the Middlesex, we're on the Freedom side. You guys probably know that, but and they cross over. They play the Winchesters, and they'll play the Readings and stuff. It's to continue to work the skating, and like you guys mentioned, the body size. You get smaller, and kids that are over 18 years now. It's the age gap. Is keep your head up, play smart, and again the conditioning. I think at the high school level they have to continue to do that and work the skating, bring the speed.
What I noticed against Lexington, they have a big team, Lexington. It seems like the size disparity was unbelievable. But Melrose has that one player. Who's a football player that plays defense in that? I forget his name.
Either Femio.
Femio.
Yes.
He's big, but Lexington was just huge. And they had that football, the quarterback who was the best player in the state.
Yeah.
He's an excellent hockey player too. But that's one thing I noticed. Do you see that in the games? That
it varies. It just at the cycle, like the teams that were top runners, Arlington's and others last year really ran the table. This year it's with a lot of the seniors graduating, just the physicality of it. And again, to the point you made earlier, the skating can help the size factor. You've got to learn to keep your head up and play the game. But I think good speed can offset the slower, larger guys.
Has the recognition or increased frequency of concussions spread much to hockey, especially if you have a smaller team that may be less physical?
Yeah. Some of the games we've called this year, the officials are right on it. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's easiest. We're up at the stands. Oh, it was a shoulder hit. If it's anywhere near the head, they're not taking any chances. The players are getting misconducts. And I think like most of the school sports, they have a protocol. Shea Champagne in our first game, he seemed well. He took a spill right at the end of one of the periods, and it wasn't until later in the game they said, hey, you know what, sit down. And he went through a couple of games off just to make sure he was okay.
You know what really impressed me with the Lexington game? I think in all the sports I have seen, there's no sport, especially in that game, every time a player went on that ice, 100% every second he was on the ice. I mean, it was up and down, hitting. I mean, in any other sport you see, you don't have to go full speed, but in hockey you have to go full speed.
Yeah. At that
It's
level,
amazing.
At that level, it's fastest game on earth for a reason, and it's kind of neat. We see it at, at our varsity level, and it's even right up to the pro game. Certainly, that's what they're stressing is speed and skill, and not to discount your point on the physicality, because there's a lot of that as well. But boy, we see some heavy hits.
Maybe I'm ignorant, but in the games we've watched through the years, it seems like the officiating is pretty good. I haven't seen much of a game that I thought, well, the officiating was really one-sided or determined the outcome.
I think in general, Ron, they've done a good job. A friend of mine, actually my ex-boss, is a long-term official. Chuck Trider is as well. And they've really upped the ante in terms of the certification to be a good ref. Mass Hockey and such, USA Hockey taking the giving out the direction. We think it's got better, especially amongst the officials on the ice where you have the two. It's not one of those guys make a decision, one's thinking one way. You see a little bit more cohesion. They talk to each other and do a better job of going and explaining to the coaches and stuff what's going on. Take some of the the trash talking and the emotion off the bench. So we're seeing the same thing.
Another thing I see too, I'm watching a Bruins game, and then in between periods they interview a player. Now this is probably 5 minutes after the period ended.
Yeah.
That player is still breathing heavy.
Yeah, I
mean,
know.
it's unbelievable how much energy they put in.
Yeah, it's what they get out of like a 30-second shift. It's hard to imagine it, but yeah, they run the whole gamut. And they're I know what you're talking about. They're sweating. They got the protocol blanket on them, and share their pedigree for a moment on what went well for them.
How is it that Las Vegas can come in as an expansion team and be among the league leaders?
How about that? It was like 15-2 at home. You figured the new, the strip or whatever, wherever they're playing the games, just getting acclimated. It's been a big story for them. And I guess NHL's halfway through now, right? All-Star weekend coming up or something pretty soon, and they've sustained. We'll see if they can, with 38 games left to go, how the Las Vegas does, but that's a good story.
Now, what about the varsity girls? Do you know, how much do you know about them?
Little on them. They're running 5-1-1. The good news for them in terms of ranking, just to bring it back to Melrose here for a minute, the guys are at rank, the overall ranking at 31 at state. The ladies are at 12, and they're 5-1-1. They're in first place, and they're Middlesex. For the guys, they're running third place right now. You got Burlington, Stoneham, who they just beat. They're kind of in the middle of the pack at that 5-4, but the ladies are 5-1-1. Boy, at 20 games, that's figure that's a 16-win run rate they're on right now. It's a good story. We know a lot of the Jill Mercers and others that you've seen, Sam Kroon, and they're all, I think, up at the senior level now.
Yeah, we were doing their games when they were in the eighth grade.
I had them when I was a youth hockey coach. Hockey families for Melrose, it's neat. They're here. They're at their pinnacle part of their season here.
When they were younger, they were winning state championships, weren't they, before high school?
Yeah, they put the girls' hockey on the map for Melrose. We never really had program, the Frank Sorrentis and people like that really ignited that opportunity for the girls years ago. And, remember for a while they split with Watertown as a co-op or a half-half.
Right.
This is their third or fourth year as a Melrose only, and look at their.
Now they're beating those teams that were beating them.
Yeah, I didn't write down scores. I did take a look at. They beat Arlington. Good girl programs and stuff like
Well,
that.
Magnon, they lost that goalie, that great goalie to Magnon, didn't they? She would be a junior now.
Yeah. But
Austin Prep.
Yeah.
Oh, Austin Prep, yeah.
But it's been so far for them, that's going well. Both programs on pace. You got to get 20 points to get into the tournament. So as of your program tonight, they're both on pace. It's going in a good direction.
That's great.
What are your observations about the Bruins? Obviously, they're a lot more successful this year. They started out slowly. Seemed as though Rask had a de facto benching
Yes.
that seemed to wake them up.
Yeah, I think the young kids got, because there's the injuries there too, not to make the excuses if you read the papers and you guys are around the sports. I think it allowed the young kids to get some minutes early before, those pressures and stuff, if they're sitting waiting for their turn and, then they get out in the 10th game, don't do well, and their confidence suffers. That happened so early in the season that so many young guys got in. So I created kind of a mold. So they have a good third and fourth line. Now the Krejci and the regulars are back. The goaltending, yeah, you're right. I guess there's always competition. They'll always say, hey, competition's healthy. But we all, what do we got, 6 years with Tuukka now, since the Stanley Cup year or the year before. So we kind of, as fans, know what we get. And he's got a maturity to him. He knows he was down a little bit. He had a good December, that's for sure. I think he went undefeated.
Well, it may be that Cassidy worked with a lot of younger players, so he may be a little bit more patient than Julian, who didn't seem to fare so well with the young players.
Complements my point on the young players. Keep in mind, they're down at the playing at the AHL level. Even a couple of years before Cassidy come up and work with Claude for a year, right? So they knew him. That might have been comfort to them. Hey, Coach Cassidy and I, he gets me. Let me try harder for him. And DeBrusque, I know is a draft pick, but Grzelcyk and some of these guys.
Grzelcyk's having a good year.
Yeah,
he's coming on well.
Those guys that did like the 2 or 3 years. It's almost like the protocol, a couple of years, and they move up college, AHL, and right on schedule. And I think every hockey fan is just loving the defenseman and McAvoy. So
and Carlo, 2 young guys.
Yeah, it bodes well. Good mix of age and some skill.
And Chara's having a good year.
Yep.
He's having a very good year.
They may extend him. Maybe they'll do a year at a time or something. Now we live in the Brady, like you could be 40 and you can still play, and he's not hurting anybody out there, I'd say, personal point of view.
I think the mistake they made against Pittsburgh the other day, he went with 4 lines consistently, and the first line, Pittsburgh's first line was getting on the ice every 3rd shift.
Right.
And, the Bruins' number 1 line was getting out there on every 4th shift. He stayed with that all the way to the end of the game.
Yeah. That would have been nice to close out before the little bye week with the victory. I know they went down in overtime, didn't they?
Yeah, they were down 3-1. Then next thing you know, they were up 5-3. They scored 4 in a row, and then they gave up a cheap goal, and then they tied it.
The goal with 3 seconds left in the period, that was a disaster.
Like you guys were saying, it's a game of momentum, isn't it? That could have gone to the dressing room, so the coach could have gone like, "What happened here?" Instead it was, "All right, we got a chance." And,
they got the 1
sure
point.
enough, yeah. It's been a good run all the way around. If you like hockey, like we all do here, it's been things are in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Thanks for having me, and we'll see you all at the rink.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. We haven't talked much about high school sports lately. The Lady Raiders team is off to a terrific start this season, 7-1. Their only defeat coming because of 1 bad half against Woburn. And overall, they look to have good balance, pretty good defense, and strong post play and experienced play at the guard.
Yeah, I saw that tournament. I did both of those games, and you did the Watertown game. Jeff asked me if I was going to come. I said, no, I'm not coming to that game. I knew it was going to happen. I knew they were going to kill Watertown. I really, as much as you want Melrose to win, of course, you hate seeing games like that when they're winning by 40 or 50 points. It's good for the girls. They all get in and stuff like that, and they feel good about themselves.
Well, it was a strange game. Melrose got off to a really fast start. They were leading 22-2 at the end of the first quarter, and Watertown's not a strong team. They went deep in the playoffs before Shannon Murphy graduated and is playing at Holy Cross. I don't think she's only played in 1 game so far, but she's a freshman on scholarship at Holy Cross. And the coach, Pat Ferdinand, is a good coach. He knows what he's doing, but he doesn't have a lot of material right now. So it doesn't matter how good you are as a coach. If you don't have players, it's not going to happen for you. But there was an instance in the stands, and a fan is screaming at the officials saying, 15, 16 seconds. Where's the 10-second rule? Well, there isn't a 10-second rule.
Did anybody tell him?
Well, yeah, we kind of did tell him because, I mean, it's bad when you're yelling at the refs about not enforcing a rule that doesn't exist. And I'm sure that, you know, he's extrapolating from other levels of basketball or girls basketball that doesn't have a shot clock. There is a 10-second rule. So if you don't know the rule, then it'd be easy to be upset about it. But at the time, had to be a Melrose fan because Melrose was crushing Watertown, and if he were a Watertown fan, why would he care? But you know, it was odd. But it was not a competitive game, and Melrose pretty much could do whatever they wanted. It was a good opportunity to see the whole roster because everybody got to play, and a lot of players made a good account of themselves.
Well, you know what it is? Like I was talking to one of the parents, and he says, well, maybe it's not that Division II isn't real strong. Maybe they have a chance to go to the Garden, you know, go to the.
Sure.
And I said to him, I said, no way. I said, not right now. I said, this team has been successful early on, but it hasn't been good basketball, all around good basketball, because they're playing down to the teams they're going up against. You could see it. I mean, early in the games, they're not playing well. In the second half, they just dominate because I think physically they're that much stronger than a lot of these teams, and it wears the other teams down. Even Woburn, who has a pretty good team, was out. They were beating us by 20-something points, and it was a one-point game there in the second half, and they almost beat Woburn, who has a real good record. But I think what's really exciting about this girls' program is that they're winning, and they're not playing their best ball right now. They're going to be better. And they know it. I mean, anybody, you know, if I talk to any one of the girls, they would say we can even play better than we are.
Yeah, every team can play better than they are, but you're right. They haven't put a complete game together against a complete team. They had a terrific second half against Woburn in the game they lost, and they have a lot of great athletes, and I mean that sincerely, girls that have quickness, have speed and strength. Basketball is a game of skill and will. They have a lot of will as a team. They have very good skill. They don't have elite skill, and I'm not taking that. How many teams really do have elite skill? But you know, a team like Braintree, that every year has an exceptional team. But they're a really interesting team to watch, and you know, if they can stay healthy, because there's so much epidemic illness in the community right now. I mean, I can barely get 8 players to practice on any given day because there's so much flu out there.
But the thing is, what I see in this team, if they keep improving, I think Hirschfeld's done an excellent job because it seems like they go into the halftime and they're not playing good basketball. He's got them in there and they're blowing the whistle for the team to come out. So he's talking to them, you know, for 15 minutes, whatever it is. They come out and they have a great second half. I think if they put both halves together, and when they go up against a team like Wakefield tomorrow, see, the good thing is that they've got to go up against better teams to get better. So they're going to be playing Wakefield twice, and they're going to be playing Belmont once. And I think Reading will be okay, but those 2 Wakefield games and Belmont games are going to be huge because that's where they're going to improve. I mean, you're going to see a huge improvement after them playing those 2 teams. I mean, they're 7-1.
Right.
So what I'm talking about is to be an elite team. To get to that elite category, that's what they need. They need to play the 2 tough games against Wakefield and against Belmont. I think they can win all those games if they reach that level.
Well, I haven't seen Wakefield. Belmont, we know, has a lot of talent, but Woburn beat Belmont in a low-scoring game. I think it was 40-35.
Yeah, Belmont's not as good as we all thought, but they're good.
Yeah, I think they're young, and so what your expectation is, if you have a young team, and I don't know anything about the coaching, that has good coaching, that they'll improve a lot. We'll see.
But they do. Like, you know, the reason why I said that earlier, I know they can, like you said, every team can play better, but this team here has the potential to be an elite team. Are they going to get there? I think the 2 Wakefield games and the Belmont game will show a lot, and if they can handle those 3 games, they can handle Arlington Catholic when they have to face them.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit to talk about the Red Sox. today there was a lot of talk online and in an interview with Dustin Pedroia that he's going to be ready for opening day. Now, I thought that the projection at the time of surgery was that he was going to be ready maybe for the second half of the year, around the All-Star break. Now, he had I won't call it an experimental, but an unusual operation that's been done more on NBA players with knee problems. I think it's one where they cut out pieces of cartilage and put them in sections. Now, he says he feels great, that he's seeing the doctor this week for clearance to start running. Clearly, he looks like he's on the downside of his career, mostly because of injury. I mean, he's had all kinds of injuries, knee injuries, wrist injuries, hand injuries. It'll be interesting to see what that means.
Geez, I was enjoying our conversation when we were talking about the Patriots. We were talking about high school sports and the girls' team.
Yeah,
Once you brought up the Red Sox, I just went down. I says, we got to talk about them.
Well,
They're the most, right now, it's kind of like boring time with the Red Sox.
well, it's hard to see how they're going to be able to compete with the Yankees. The Yankees made some fantastic moves. The Yankees have a lot of young talent. The Red Sox plan is hope. Hope that the players who didn't play up to their capabilities last year, like Bogarts and Betts, are healthy and do play up to their capabilities. They re-signed Moreland. From all I heard from my sources, that Moreland is an exceptional person, high quality, great force in the locker room. But, you know, he's a low 20 home run, 80 RBI guy who can field. He's not a dominating player at first.
They're going to have to do something. I mean, they're going to have to pick up. They need one power hitter, unless Ramirez comes through. Who knows
Right.
with Ramirez? But, I mean, the Yankees, things are looking really good for the Yankees, and
They
that
are.
turned around fast. People it really turned around fast. And if Torres is fine, he had the Tommy John surgery, and they put him in at second base, another superstar. He's going to be, I mean, people don't even realize how good this kid is. He's coming up, and you have Bird at first base and Sanchez catching. They're not even talking about those guys because of.
Well, it's about whether your health holds up. You re-sign Sabathia. You have Tanaka, who's a really good player. If he's
Severino,
I like him a
Montgomery,
lot.
and don't forget Gray. Gray's going to be a steady pitcher all year. He's going to go out there.
And you don't have to pitch great. You can probably have an ERA of 5.
No. I mean, like Gray's going to be a steady pitcher. Tanaka, if his arm, Severino's going to be a steady pitcher, one of the top in baseball.
Yeah.
If his arm is all right.
Well, with pitchers, you're always one pitch away from not being okay. Like Sale, terrible delivery. I mean, he's an arm injury waiting to happen. And you say, like, well, how do you know that? Well, I'm sure they've done kinematic analysis on delivery, and he throws across his body. It's, I hope he pitches fantastic and he holds up, but it makes me nervous.
I mean, there's so much interest. And then, really, when you think, I mean, I like baseball. I like watching the Yankees play, and I like watching the Red Sox. So the summertime, I like that. I'll put a game on. And when it's there, it's there. But there's so much excitement going on now.
Well, there was
with the Patriots, the Celtics, the Bruins.
There was the recent poll of sports fans about what's your favorite sport. By far, number one sport was National Football League. Second was the NBA. Baseball's barely hanging on in third, and mostly it's driven by old fogies like us.
I can pick your top. I can pick your top 4 right now, and you could probably pick my top 4 right now.
Yeah. Anyway, but we'll switch gears over to the Celtics. They went over to London. They had a fantastic commercial where all the Celtics players tried to use English accents and promote the game. So it was really funny. Try to hear their accents, especially somebody like Yabusele, who's French.
Whose was the best? Probably Horford.
I was going to say, I thought Horford's was really good. The Celtics rallied from 22 points behind in the first half to win by 11 today. And what was really interesting, after the game, they had all these foreign reporters, and they asked little silly questions. There was a German reporter asking naturally about Daniel Tice, and he had a couple of good plays, but it really wasn't so material to the game. It was more special interest reporting.
Yeah, his brother flew there from Germany to watch the game, so that was nice. He got playing time. But I said, I'm in work, right? They're down 22 points. And then just before I left, they're down 9 at halftime. I put the radio on when I was just getting home. They're up 6.
Well,
I'm saying, what the heck happened?
they're ahead in the fourth quarter, and I guess Kyrie Irving yelled something to Scalabrine, and they said, "What'd he say?" He said, "Gas up the plane." So instead of warm up the bus, the Celtics were ready to move on.
Well, they're coming home tomorrow, aren't they?
Yes, they've played the most games in the NBA. They have the second best record in the NBA. They have the second fewest losses after Golden State. And nobody, not the most optimistic Celtics fan, thinks they're going to beat the Warriors. I'm sorry. And they've been very entertaining. It's no silver lining that Hayward was hurt, but it has meant a lot more minutes for important development for Brown and Tatum. Tatum looks like he's going to develop into a perennial all-star. Irving looks like he's happy. His team, he gets to do pretty much what he wants. I mean, and
He's not playing his best right now either.
no, but I think he's in a situation where he's happy and he feels a big part of the whole structure going forward, which is great for us.
Would you trade Horford, Brown, and the Laker pick for Davis?
Horford, Brown, and the Laker pick. I think that's kind of a lot because the Laker pick's probably going to be a top 3, top 4 pick.
That's what I was saying. I was saying, imagine if they get Bagley or the guard from where is it, Oklahoma? Not Oklahoma.
Oh,
One of those teams down
yeah,
there.
I know who you mean.
If they get that guard, they said it's really good. I mean, but imagine them getting Bagley. If they get Bagley, next year they would be the #1 team in basketball.
Well, Bagley's probably going to be the #1 pick.
Well,
so
they're saying maybe that guard,
Trey Roberts, I think.
is it Oklahoma? It might be Oklahoma. Or the center from Arizona, or Porter.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. I mean,
Porter was the #1 guy until he got hurt.
yeah, so there's a lot of guys at the top of the draft that are really attractive, and the fact that the Celtics were able to move down to get the pick is, really incredible.
It's amazing, and it looks like the Lakers are going to end up right there, and the Celtics are going to get another top player.
Yeah, there was an interesting presentation looking at Ball and Kyle Kuzma and Clarkson, all these guys and the players saying, well, look at the Lakers general manager has been winning the draft over the last few years. Well, if all these guys are so good, how come you never win any games? That's what I'd say.
Well,
Well, they may be getting LeBron. They could be getting Paul George. I mean, I don't know where the money fits in, but
Well, Paul George, forget about Paul George. I would take Tatum over Paul George right now. If Oklahoma City called the Celtics, called Ainge and said, we'll give you George for Tatum,
Yeah,
the
they'd
Ainge would say no.
no, they
I
wouldn't.
mean, look at George. The last 5 games he's played pretty good, but there are games where he shoots 8 for 22. I mean, for a guy that's supposed to be a superstar, he's not. And then another thing too, he makes that commercial where he shoots the ball and walks away with his back and the ball goes in. Last year he was 0 for 22 in game-winning shots. 0 for 22.
Well, the other issue for the Celtics is they have the $8 million injury exception for Hayward. So they have a chance to pick up another player. Obviously, there's players out there that will fit the money, like Nerlens Noel. I don't know what they'd have to give Dallas. They'd probably have to give Dallas a lot to get Noel. Marco Bellinelli is not doing anything.
Some teams might be just wanting to drop the salary too.
It's possible. So the Celtics should be able to pick up another scorer or a serviceable big man, not a star player, but a useful player.
And they can also give up the Memphis pick or the Dallas pick that they have in 2 years.
Right.
Which one of them, the Memphis pick, if it works out, could be a #1 pick in the draft in 5 years. Because it goes from 14 to 7 to no protection. So, and then the Dallas goes from 14 protected, and that goes down.
I think
But they could give up one of those picks with one player.
Dallas might be a little bit on the rise. They get Dennis
They are.
Smith, and I think that they're pretty
How
savvy.
about Chicago?
Organization. Chicago's played surprisingly well, and Miami's playing better lately too.
Yeah, Miami's playing better, but they have those 2 Johnson shooters. They're good shooters, and Olenek.
So today was the 8th game that the Celtics have been behind by 13 points or more and come back to win. They asked Jaylen Brown about that. He says, we got to stop doing that because when you're playing the better teams, that's not going to happen very often.
Yeah, they just played that defense that was unbelievable today. I didn't see it, but what I heard, that they picked up the defense. And when they're healthy and when they're not tired, they can play some defense because they're long and
Right. The point that the Celtics have played the most games in the NBA means they've had the least rest in the NBA. And they're 5-1 in games when they've had more than 1 day rest. Now, obviously, in the postseason, most of the time you do get 1 day rest. So, overall, looks promising going forward. There's a lot of discussion this week since Hayward got out of the brace, whether he's going to be ready. They're not going to push this in any way. No chance that they want him injured. They want him being 100% next year.
especially the way the season's going, they may want it to go like this. I mean, imagine if he came back and they put him with the second unit, the way Morris is playing, and then you have him with Smart and Rozier and Theis. I mean, that's not a bad second team.
Did you see Isaiah Thomas
That was
clothesline the
terrible.
guy? He
Might be losing it, you know that?
He got a $20,000 fine. Literally, somebody was driving down the lane, and he just clotheslined him in the face. It was really a terrible play. It's a tough call on Thomas because even if he's playing well and he says he's not hurt, he is hurt because if you have a torn labrum in your hip, you're hurt, or you're injured. You're more than hurt, and that is at risk for the future. And are you going to sign a guy his age for a 3-year contract for $30 million a year with that out there? Unless you get it heavily insured, which is going to cost you a fortune, I don't think so.
That was, this is going to be an important playoffs because, during the season, they're going to lose more and more because LeBron's not going to be playing as much. He's going to be sitting down games. They're not going to take it as serious, especially if you have the Celtics in Toronto ahead of them by, a number of games. A big game tonight. I hope they beat Toronto. That'll put the Celtics up 4 games on Toronto. And but so you're going to look at it that way, and then so Thomas really isn't going to be able to show until the playoffs come. And if he has a great playoff series, I mean, he's got the talent.
Well, the problem for Cleveland is Thomas is one more weak defender on a team that's old and has weak defense. So they're going to have to outscore people, which isn't always that easy in the playoffs when defense gets better and the play gets more physical. I'm not saying the Celtics are going to beat Cleveland. I have no idea. We'll just have to see how everybody's playing at the time. And, of course, who stays healthy.
Curry or Irvin? You have to think about it?
Well, yeah, I do have to think about it. I mean, I really think, Curry's a fantastic player. The thing about Curry, he doesn't have to get to the basket to score because he can come off picks, 5 feet outside the three-point line and still hit. In one game, you'll see these guys who are great shooters who just totally go off and go 2 for 20. So that's the thing that I've seen enough games or a few games where Curry just had these really terrible games. You live by the three-pointer, you die by the three-pointer.
If the Celtics had Curry instead of Irving, they would definitely win the East.
They'd definitely win the East.
They would win the East.
But if you put if you traded Curry for Irving, Golden State would still win.
But with Hayward back next year, Celtics be the best team in basketball with Curry instead of Irving. Curry is way better than Irving. Way better than him. I'm surprised you had to think about that.
Well, I think, Curry's...
Westbrook, Curry, or Irving?
Oh, boy, I love Westbrook. I do. I love Westbrook.
He can't shoot.
Yeah, he's a good shooter.
He's a 10 for 30 shooter in half the games.
I've enjoyed being with you tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.